Hey, we're live. I got my countdown right.
Nice.
So exciting. So exciting. Hey, this is kind of impromptu today. So, whatever day it is that you're watching, we hope you're having a good one. I think it's day 12 of quarantine. And so my mind has been spinning. And here's my friend, Peter Oswald. There's your name. I'm not Peter, but you're Peter. And we just thought we'd jump on here because in a conversation that Peter and his wife, Masha, and my husband and I had recently, we were talking about the Lehigh Valley Tunnel in Pennsylvania. And just some really great encouragement for not finishing where we began. So I just wanted Peter to share with you some Lehigh Tunnel trivia. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Bring it on.
Okay. I think we'll do it in true or false. Okay. True or false? True or false? And honestly, if you want to jump in here with the comments, you can either cheer him on or because we're going to do some tunnel trivia using the Lehigh Valley Tunnel in Pennsylvania. I'll give you that one. So true or false? The northbound tunnel has a different shape than the southbound tunnel.
Oh, that sounds so interesting. I'm going to have to say true, although I can't imagine what the shape would be.
It is true. And I'm trying to think. So one of them is like a square.
Got it.
I think that's the southbound one. The southbound one is like a square, I think, if I remember correctly. If you are listening and you know, then jump in the comments and correct me if I'm wrong. And the northbound one is an oval. So when you drive into the entrance of the Lehigh Tunnel, one of the entrances is a square and the other one is an oval.
Interesting.
Now, for 5 extra bonus points, Peter, can you tell me why?
I'm going to guess, because we had something like this in Kentucky, that it was originally a 2-lane tunnel in one, and then they decided to build another one and like split the lanes, the northbound and southbound from each other.
Yes, exactly. Perfect answer. Now, man of all trivia.
My superpower.
Why did they build the second one oval and not square?
Because they've discovered that it's more easy to do weight bearing, like it's more stable.
I think so. It was also the blasting method that was used. That's what I understand. So very good. You scored your points into the bonus round. So I wanted to share with you some comments about people because there's actually a Facebook page for the Lehigh Valley Tunnel. I don't know who monitors it. I'm pretty sure that maybe there's a man behind the curtain.
The tunnel itself, it's alive. Swallowing cars.
So one person posted, "This tunnel is always leads to an amazing adventure." And I like that about tunnels, like because you go in and you're not really sure where you're going to come out. Another person said, "It's a hole that you drive into, and when you come out, it looks like you're in China."
Okay, that's definitely a perspective.
I have driven this tunnel many times, and I don't think I ever thought I was in China coming out. But there are some principles about the tunnel that I wanted to have a wonderful conversation about, because I think a lot of them apply to this COVID-19 season. And basically, one thing that you and I got really excited on is when you go in the tunnel, when you come out the other side, it may or may not look like China, but it does look different. Because most tunnels, well, the Charles River tunnel, that goes under the water, but most tunnels I've been through go through mountains, which put you on the other side of the mountain. So some principles about the tunnel, how to get through the tunnel, how to survive the tunnel, and how to utilize the tunnel to your advantage. Couple of points. First point of the tunnel, stay in your lane.
Come on.
Come on, Peter. How many times in the last several years have you said to me, Anne, are you staying in your lane?
Come on. Come
in
on.
the tunnel, there's traffic ahead of you, there's traffic behind you, and there's traffic next to you. So you have to stay in your lane. There's no weaving in the tunnel because there's too many other people around you. And so what I would say is you need to know what lane you're in. And you need to have healthy boundaries. Know where those boundaries are.
Come on.
There's no guardrails in these tunnels. There's a wall on one side and a car on the other.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Well, and the thing too is if you go backwards in a tunnel, you're probably going to get hit. And I think one of the lies of this season is that people have is that they can wait it out. The reality is we're all stuck in the tunnel. And if you go backwards, it's not going, you can't stand still. If you stand still in the middle of the tunnel, you'll get hit. You can't. And in fact, you can't. You're either going one way or you're going the other. You're either northbound or southbound. You're either going to the other side or you're going back to where you came from. And the reality is at the end of this COVID season will either be better or worse. There's no in between. We won't be the same. And so the question is, are you going to actually use this tunnel to move into the new season, to actually pass through? The great thing about a tunnel is instead of going over the mountain, you go under it. The problem with the tunnel is you can't see anything while you're doing it. You're disconnected from your normal reality, but you have to believe and trust and keep moving forward and trusting that the light at the end of the tunnel is not an oncoming train.
Yeah. Yeah. So life in the tunnel is a lot about knowing what lane you're in, understanding that you're on a journey, that you can't stop, you can't sit and wait it out, and that you need to be aware of who's in the tunnel with you. Have some healthy boundaries. And I wrote down these three words. Well, these words, respect people's spaces, places, and choices.
That's hard. That's hard because the reality is in this season, I don't think there's one of us who has made all good choices. I don't think there's one of us who hasn't had a moment of self-medication, distraction, thinking, going backwards, in the words of the great Keith Green. So you want to go back to Egypt where it's warm and secure. Are you sorry you bought the one-way ticket when you thought you were sure? And it's, I love that, we think, we're like, we have moments of clarity and we're moving forward and then we lose that and our feelings don't line up and we start walking out of our feelings, as you say, and walking out of our soul rather than our spirit. And suddenly we're lost. And so the problem is we're living usually with people in this season who are also not making perfect choices, also having to, and it's funny, we have grace for us when we're stupid. We have grace for ourselves when we are, weaving through traffic. We have grace for us when we're self-medicating. But when somebody else in our environment is, oh no, no. And, we got to take this person out. And part of staying in your lane is extending your grace to people when they're weaving.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to respect what other people are doing in the tunnel.
Come on.
Or there's going to be a mass multi-vehicle pile up.
Come on.
So it impacts, if you're not going to respect the people in your space in this season, it impacts more than just you.
Come on.
Especially if you're in a household of many.
Come on.
Fortunately, I only have one to worry about.
But it's amazing. It's amazing what one is enough. The funny thing is, I know people that are by themselves and they're weaving. And they have, the amazing part is people can weave when they're not even in the house with you, right? They can weave into your lane. You're like, get out of my house. Who let you in? They're not even in your house, but they're texting you or they're doing whatever, what they say, don't text drunk, don't drive drunk, don't text drunk. And also don't do it while you're under the influence of a spirit of stupid. One of the things that you've probably seen it, if you've ever seen someone, like someone does something stupid in traffic, right? They're looking at their phone and they start to weave a little bit, and somebody has a road rage response. We had one dangerous person who was accidentally dangerous. Now we have an additional person who's intentionally dangerous. Now I have a question for you. Which one's worse? I submit to you the road rage person scares me a lot more than the unintentional one. And the funny thing is, oftentimes my inability to give grace to someone produces the road rage person. And if I'm honest, I'm more dangerous than the unintentional one.
That's a good word. That's a good word. So communication in the tunnel, use your blinker if you're changing lanes.
I need to pull over for a moment.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going too bad.
It's all good. It's just, we're huge advocates of communication, and communication is super important in this season, especially if we don't want to finish where we started. We want to come out ahead.
Come on.
So that's our first principle of the tunnel. Stay in your lane. Second principle of the tunnel, limit distractions.
Come on. Come on.
Focus
Texting
on the
while
road.
driving, right? Texting while driving, right? I mean, exactly that. It's like, it's amazing. Our lane is so limited in a tunnel, right? You have such limited options, but it's amazing how we'll still try to get distracted, right? Or we'll distract ourselves. We're like, I'm bored. I'm going to go do something stupid. Oh, I'm just going to go over here. Next thing you know, we're weaving across oncoming traffic.
Getting distracted. So in this season of social distancing and sheltering, even though we're at home, there's a gazillion things to get distracted with. So if you're watching this, I would love you to throw in the comments some of the things that you're getting distracted with this season, and not just social media. I mean, social media is the obvious because that's where we're seeing everybody.
Well, how about this? I think this would be easier and more fun. How about we say the things that the people we're living with are getting distracted by? Those are easier to identify. I have a spirit of wisdom and discernment and harsh judgment because I'm not staying in my lane.
Yeah, distractions. I know people are worried about gaining 10 pounds in this season because the pantry is like your best friend.
So 10 pounds, that's what we're aiming for, right? Just 10. That's the goal. I like to have goals. That's a good goal. Is that a weed?
Distractions are hard. So staying focused, staying on the road, because when you're in the tunnel, you know, that tunnel wall is real close, and those people on the other side are real close. When I was I went to boarding school in New Hampshire, and I would drive from central New York up to New Hampshire, and sometimes I'd go through Boston, and the Charles River Tunnel just would scare me so bad, because all of a sudden everything is close. And I put under limit your distractions, I put objects are closer than they appear.
Oh, come on.
So if you're getting distracted, you know, and there's other people in the house, like they're really closer than they appear, because our bodies extend with our emotions, and, you know, with the stuff that we're carrying. All of a sudden, you know, it's like, you remember I can't remember the name of the superheroes, but they were Elastigirl.
Oh yeah.
So they start, yeah. We take up more space when we're sheltering. So objects are really closer than they appear. So if I decide to, you know, be snarky over something, it's going to bump into the people in my space, because they're closer than they appear, and I'm bigger than I understand I am.
Well, and you even said this thing about the Lehigh Tunnel, about how it echoes. You know, a lot of times what I'm finding when I'm getting frustrated, or when somebody is ticking me off, they're not doing anything. They're just mirroring back to me my own attitude. Like, they're actually literally unaware. Like, I always cracks me up, like when women will be like, well, you know what that man is thinking. He's thinking this. No, you just missed it completely. If there's a problem, it's that he's not thinking. That's the real issue. You know, people are like, oh, you know, so often when I have walked in discernment and said, you know what the problem with this person is, I'm actually talking about myself. I'm actually seeing my own attitude mirrored back to me, and the person probably doesn't have anything to do with it. Yeah. And that stinks, because the problem is I can't run away from my mirror, right? You're my mirror. The person's my mirror. But that's why we live in community and we live in relationship. Because anybody here lived by themselves and gotten weird? Now, I want to say to this, if you're in a tunnel and you're all by yourself, you need to pull people into your tunnel virtually. Because if we are by ourselves very long, we give ourselves passes on all kinds of silly stuff. Like, it's crazy. Like, I've been by myself a long time. Then I come out and I'll be like, and I'll talk about what I think is normal. And people look at me like, that's not okay. Yeah. But I gave myself passes because I was all by myself. When you are in community, you see it mirrored back to you. And you go, oh, that's not okay. Yeah. And so, and so it's a grace. That mirror is a grace if I recognize it as a mirror and don't try to break the mirror.
Yeah, because staying with our metaphor of the tunnel, breaking the mirror or carrying on like that, you're not only going to finish ahead, you're probably going to cause a wreck in the tunnel.
Yep. And block other people too from going through. Yeah.
And then there's going to be some road rage. Okay, so principle number 1, stay in your lane. Number 2 was limit distractions. Objects are closer than they appear.
Come on.
Any other thoughts on that one?
Yeah. Well, just literally that the mirror is your friend. Your mirror is your friend. You know, you don't, if the mirror shows you have food on your face, you don't break the mirror and go get a new mirror. Like, there's a lot of people like, the divorce rate is exploding right now. Like, the number of people filing to divorce, maybe just because they have nothing better to do. But I think, honestly, they just realize they don't like what the mirror shows them. So they're going to go get a mirror. And we all know people who have moved from relationship to relationship, always looking for a new mirror, not realizing that all the mirrors are showing them the same thing. And so I would just say the mirror is your friend. I mean, a person with leprosy, a person who has no sense of feeling, actually has a routine where they stand in front of a mirror every day and do a self-check. Why? Because if there's a cut and it's not treated, they don't have the sense of feeling to know it's there, it will go gangrene. And the reality is that's like us in life. If we don't have a mirror to show us where we won't realize and we will begin to walk it out and think everything's okay. And suddenly we're dying of emotional gangrene. We're behaving a certain way. We started with social distancing. Now we're just distancing ourselves, period, from everybody. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. And so what I just want to say is the mirror is your friend. Don't shoot the mirror. Ask the Lord if the mirror is showing you something. And if it is, there's grace to deal with what the mirror is showing you. Okay. So many people have been sent home and they're like, but this is an opportunity to get your house in order, whatever that looks like. And it's not like it's out of nowhere. It was there, but now it's in high relief. So use the mirror to your advantage, and if something comes up in the mirror in this season, deal with it before. That's part of the tunnel. If you don't deal with it, and you cause that wreck, you're not going to go through the tunnel. Right. At best, you may die in the tunnel, or you may be killed.
So I made this PDF file. I sent it to you earlier.
Yes, very
7 things to do today to thrive tomorrow. And I subtitled it, our title for today, Don't Finish Where You Began, Finish Ahead. So stay tuned, because I'm not going to try to type and talk, but I'm going to add this in, the link to this at the end. Because this document I created as an activation to spin off of our conversation. So if you're listening and you want to throw a thumbs up in there, I'll make sure that I send you the link to grab. So principles of the tunnel. Love the Lehigh Valley Tunnel. If you've been there, let me know, because they have a Facebook page. I don't know why that cracks me up. So principle number 3, be ready for a change in the landscape. And I love the lady that put the post on the Lehigh Valley Tunnel Facebook page that says, when you come through, it looks like you're in China. You're like in a totally different area. And you and I have had a couple conversations about coming through this season of social distancing and sheltering in place, and getting to a place where we need to understand, when we come out of this, the landscape is going to look different. And if you're not prepared, you might not survive. And the world doesn't need any more unhealthy people. We really need more thriving people, which is why I did this, because I want people to thrive. I want them to take advantage of this time, instead of, causing crashes and stuff in their homes, to be able to say, okay, what is the landscape going to look like? And honestly, don't you think that even if we don't know exactly what the landscape's going to look like, we can still prepare for the change?
I do. I just to kind of stay with that whole thing, even if you don't go through the tunnel, even if you pull a Yui and do something stupid and back your way out of the tunnel, it will be changed. The place you left will be different. You know why? Because a bunch of people left, and a bunch of people in your social sphere are no longer playing the same game. They are different. They're no longer partnering with you in whatever weirdness of the last season was. And suddenly it's like you're out there, you're out there in a parka all by yourself, and everybody took their Bermuda shorts and went to the other side of the mountain. And you're wondering, where did everybody go? 5 minutes ago, we were all talking the same language, and now everybody else is, This is the time to arise and shine. This is the time. Historically, over and over and over again, it's when things are bad that the church arises and shows the way, just like Joseph did in Egypt, just like I could go on and on and on. It happened over and over and over again. And right now, if you're a person who is pulling back in fear, pulling back in self-protection, pulling back in blame and shame and hiding and waiting for this all to pass by, and everybody else rises up and presses into destiny and makes a difference and shifts careers or shift business or shifts, and they're all shifted and you're still stuck, it's not going to be good, because you lost your traveling buddies. You lost so it can't stay the same no matter whether you stay on one side of the mountain or the other. But on the other side of the mountain, here's the thing. I will tell you, if you start with the assumption that it's not going to be the same, you're opening, it's almost like putting your car in neutral. You know, when you go through a car wash, you put your car in neutral, and you're trusting the car wash tunnel to take you where it's supposed to go. And it's the same thing. I feel like if you put yourself in neutral in the presence of the Lord and say, God, I need to understand what's happening. What do you want to change in me? Everything's up for grabs. Listen, all the stuff that's come to the surface, Lord, take it all, take it all, take it all. I don't want it. Lord, all the junk, all the stuff the mirror is showing me. But God, what do you want to change in me? Guess what? He will change you so you'll be ready for the next season, even if you don't know what the season is for.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that image of the car wash. And it's almost like, so life is always changing. It's always going to change. Nothing ever stays the same. It's just not a dynamic of life. So I feel like when we're in these seasons of social distancing and sheltering in place, it just accelerates the rate of change. It really accelerates it. So it's almost going to cost you more than most of us are willing to sacrifice if we don't submit to the change, if we try to hold on to things. And that was another reason why I did this PDF that I want to share, because I feel like it's a really good time to address those things about, why am I pushing back on change? You know, is it fear? Is it shame? Is it insecurities? I mean, you know, the first week of this, what do we call this? The season of COVID? I mean,
the great pause.
The great pause. I was just really struggling, and it was like this deep insecurity just kind of rose up, and it shut me down, and I couldn't pull out. It was a week or 10 days before I could kind of pull out of it, and it was the process of going through my prophetic words about my identity and about the call on my life that Masha just was so good for, just walking through that process of putting those together and kind of like making a dough out of them, so I could at least understand what I was looking at. And then that thing happened that you just described with the escalator that takes you through the car wash. Yeah. All of a sudden, it just broke. And I was like, oh, wow. And it was almost as if I jumped forward and started living from my identity, my kingdom identity, and my body was just catching up. And all of a sudden, I'm flooded with content ideas where before I felt like, you know, a dry aqueduct in the Middle East or something. And so preparing ourselves for change, and that's one of the activations I put in this PDF. There's things that we can do that are very simple, relatively painless, that will put us in position to receive when God starts opening that up for us. But you got to be prepared to come out of the other side of the tunnel. You have to, it's almost like thinking ahead and living from your future self.
Come on.
And saying, okay, so when we come out of this and the landscape's different, you know, what's my future self going to say to my present self to get me ready? I mean, is that weird?
No. But I really like what you said about identity, because I think the mistake we often make is, if I could change something out there, I would be okay, right? If I could have more money, if I could get the right job, if I could this, I could that. But God always wants to reveal our identity, which that means we think it's becoming something. He's actually trying to remove everything that's not us, all the false identities, right? All the masks, all the things, the lies we believe, to reveal who he made us to be. But that destiny is not, it's not where we're going. It's not a destination. Destiny is our identity. When we know who we are, we will walk automatically in every situation according to who we are, and therefore we'll be able to partner with God in every situation and bring the change necessary in every situation, regardless of what's on the other side of the mountain. And I hear people, not directly with me, some people I've talked to, they're like, we're talking that, this person's relatively prophetic. And so some people were reaching out like, when will this end? And what will it be like on the other side? And should I buy stocks or bonds or toilet paper? What should I invest in? And those are not the questions to be asking. The questions to be asking are, God, who have you made me to be? Because who you made me to be will thrive in every season, because it will be able to partner with you in whatever's coming. Jesus could walk on water in a storm. Jesus could sleep in a storm. He didn't have, there was never an ecosystem where Jesus was like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to do. I'm totally lost. Oh no. Jesus was okay because Jesus in every situation was able to partner with the Father because he knew who he was and he knew what God could bring through him. And when what you said about identity, when I realized I can't figure out what's going to be on the other end of the tunnel, but I can figure out who is going to be on the other end of the tunnel. And when I know who, I'm good. I'm good. It's going to be me, who I am in Christ, and Jesus. I'm good.
Right. Because who we are, we're problem solvers, and we're called to bring solutions to certain and very specific areas of our worlds. And we need to understand our identity. We need to understand who we're called to so that we can bring those solutions. I love the idea that I am first and foremost a daughter of the King. That's who I am. I'm a child of God. I'm a bride of Christ. I'm part of his body. And I'm a problem solver.
Come on.
For his kingdom. I'm a problem solver for his kingdom. So one of the problems that I'm always answering is, who's stuck, and how can I help them get unstuck? And I had a 2-hour conversation with a mutual friend of ours last night. And I love video calls. I'm like, I can see their face. I maybe can't touch them, but I can see them. And we were just talking and I was like, oh my word, I think you're stuck. I can help you. So we scheduled another call, because as our identity, our kingdom identity, we come as problem solvers because we have the solution.
Come on.
All right. So principles of the tunnel, stay in your lane, limit your distractions, be ready for a change in the landscape. And number 4, drum roll, please.
Boom.
Have fun.
Yes.
So you mentioned it earlier, when I would take my daughter down to her school in Philadelphia and I would head back up to Syracuse, we would go through the Lehigh Valley Tunnel and I would roll down my window. I didn't care if it was the middle of December. I would roll down my window, stick my head out and yell because I'd love to hear the echo.
I love it.
Very undignified, for a 40-year-old. But it was fun. So even though this season of social distancing and sheltering, and we have to pay attention to the lane we're in and distractions, even though this season is awkward and it's different, it still can be fun. And the reason I say that is because Jesus is in a good mood and Holy Spirit is very happy. I mean, joy was at the top of his list.
Come on. You know what, though? When you say that, I have to give up my right to be in a bad mood. Because one of the things I've seen is there is joy in every moment. But if I'm asking the moment to be something it can't be, I will never experience joy. And but I have to give up my right to dictate what the moment is for, right? If I'm like, I need XYZ and the situation doesn't have it, right? You know, whether it's I need social interaction, I need to be hugging people. I need hugs. Give me a hug. If I don't get a hug, people die, right? If that's my perspective, then I've just said joy is not an option. But if I come to the moment and say, Jesus, I know that in this moment, you are all that I need, and you can take the loaves and fishes of this moment and make it something. And so I've seen two ways to have fun that people are missing in this season. Not me, of course. I would not be doing this. But what just in case my wink was too subtle for you. Two ways that people have fun, and they are the two things that people generally don't do. One is intentionally relax. Now, I don't mean distract. We talked about distraction before. Let me tell you, if you relax on Facebook, after about 3 hours, you're like, that's not relaxing. That is honestly your ability to rest, relax, enjoy, like build something, do something enjoyable that doesn't leave you. You can tell the devil's version of relaxation because you need a vacation from your vacation by the time you're done. You need rest from your rest by the time you're done. But when you rest in God, you come away. But there's another way you have fun. It is you lean into destiny. What you were saying, Ann, about God giving you content ideas, doesn't that give you energy? Doesn't that give you joy? There's fun in partnering with your destiny and doing things. And I've got people that are like, yeah, I would love to write a book, but, and I feel like I've got a book in me, but, I never have enough time until they cancel the whole world for a month. And now you suddenly have time, right? Lean in. You lost your...
And look, they've extended your month to 2.
Isn't that so generous? Honestly, can I just say something? I don't know who it is out there who's not saying yes to their destiny, but please hurry up and say yes so we can get out of... We're waiting on you. No, I feel like the pause gets longer because so many of us are like, you know what? I'm just going to wait for this to wear off. And God's like, hurry up, people. Move, get with the program. No, seriously, this time is for something. And real rest and real moving in destiny, real work, whether it's fixing up your house or doing things, whatever it is, you're going to find there's the fun and there's the joy and there's the re-energizing that you're looking for. Yep.
It's awesome because really another principle of the tunnel that you just unpacked that we didn't even write down is the longer you resist it, the longer the tunnel gets. And when you're in community, it just delays everybody's destiny because you're not in position. It's like the marching band can't get going because somebody's not in line.
Come on. But hear me on this. Hear me on this. And this is the flip of it. Is if someone's delaying you, you need to do 2 things really quick. This is okay. I'm really serious. I'm going to bring my ugly stick. Here it is. This is my ugly stick. It's very tiny. But is first of all, you have to forgive them. Here's why. Is if they're delaying you, you actually have given them the power, and therefore you are powerless. You don't have to ask if you're powerless. You know how you know you're powerless? You're angry, you're offended, you're ticked off, you're depressed, you're in despair, and you ready to strangle someone. So those are signs that you've given your power to someone else and you feel powerless. So the first thing you have to do is forgive them. And the second thing you need to do is forgive yourself. Why is that? Because what you're doing is you're undoing the chains that have given them power. So let's now dial into the second part of it. But I am in their environment. Their choices do affect me. What do you mean I'm not? Well, here's the deal. Every time you face a hardship that God never intended, what they meant for evil, God will re-intend for good. That's what Joseph talks about, what his brothers did to him. God never intended him to go through what he went through, but God took it and turned it into the ultimate promotion, right? Joseph was supposed to just lead his family. He ended up leading the whole world. So every time you go through a hardship, it can be your promotion if you will forgive and release and allow God to re-intend the stupidity of somebody else for your benefit. But you got to do that. You got to forgive, you got to release, and then allow God to reframe it. So I'll give you an example. Not for my life, praise you, Jesus. At least not in this season. Imagine you're living in a home with someone who is never believing the best about you, right? So that's totally, if you know Masha, you know that's like not her DNA at all. So, so you are sitting there going, I could be a contender. If somebody would just believe me, I could have been a contender, right? At what point are you going to say, I forgive them, I release them, that they cannot see my goal, they don't recognize my value, they don't recognize my destiny, and they fight it at every turn? I release them. I forgive them. God, what do you want? How do you want to redeem this? What do you want to do? In that moment, God will show you the muscles you have built, pushing into destiny in spite of it, saying yes. Listen, if you can say yes when the very people closest to you are against you, when you can say yes to your identity and destiny, when they absolutely don't see it, guess what? It will be a piece of cake in the world. That would be a piece of cake. You just built monster muscles. And then all of a sudden, when you forgive and release, it's almost like you clipped a rubber band and shoo, you are launched into destiny. Yeah. Does that make sense?
And you're free. You're in a better mood. Yep.
Yes.
I agree.
Oh, and by the way, total side benefit. You want to know the ultimate annoyance in the world?
Yes.
Is when somebody's trying to bring you down and you're just having a really good day and it's not in any way related to them. They have no ability to access that mood and you're not being snarky. Oh my gosh. I mean, the Bible calls it pouring hot coals on their head. I mean, seriously, like when you are literally, you're like, no, I really wish it didn't bother you so much. I'm okay. No, you need to partner with me. We have this partnership in hell that you're supposed to be a part of. I see, you saw. Come on, see. No, and you're like, no, I'm good. And they're like, no. It's like, I just imagine like the Wicked Witch of the West. So it's fun.
We need to add that to the list of skits that we're going to do one day.
There are so many skits inside my head, you wouldn't believe it. There's a lot of people in there too. But
there's just not enough time. Too many skits and not enough time. Okay, so life in the tunnel is dark, but there's a light at the end. Life in the tunnel is lonely, but you're not alone.
Come on.
Life in the tunnel can be stressful. It can be hard to stay in your lane and manage your distractions. But it is possible to have fun and relax.
Come on.
Those are my tunnel principles.
Come on. I think for me, all of that sums up for me is the line that it tells us in Hebrews about Jesus. For the joy set before him, he endured, went through the cross. What does that mean? The joy was so much greater than the cross that he went through it easily. Traditionally, we know the life of the martyrs in the church, often they would be burned at the stake. One great one was Thomas Ridley and Crandall, his assistant. He was a translator of the Bible. They put him, they were burning him at the stake. And it turned out the fire wouldn't go fast enough because of the wet. And so they were really being slow broiled. And in the middle of it, he's like up there and he goes, Crandall, oh my goodness, what a fire will we light for the Lord today in England. And they're like laughing their heads off. They start having a little sing song and they're not in pain at all. Why? Because of the joy set before him. Mm-hmm. I just want to say that if you can ask God what the joy of it is, who you will be on the other side of this tunnel, you will with joy go through that process.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Good stuff. Okay. So, Peter, I'm all about the takeaways. I'm giving this away.
Ooh, for free?
For free. So if you're still here, you're watching this on the rewind, just mention it in the comments. I think I'm going to be able to put a link in and if I figure out how to do that. I have the mind of Christ.
You do. I believe in you.
Hey, thanks so much for coming in today.
This was so much fun. It's always fun with you, Ann.
It's just a party.
See, you obviously know how to have fun in the tunnel.
I do. I learned. And when I don't, my husband reminds me.
Hence the mirror.
All right. Thank y'all for tuning in today. And again, just click below. I'm going to leave this up there. Maybe it gets on the screen. Appreciate you, Peter.
Oh, so appreciate you, Ann. Thank you for doing this.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Am I going to get this?